Welcome to Association Chat, an online discussion where we warm ourselves by the virtual fire with topics of the day, welcoming thought leaders and trailblazers alike to join up in this online home for the community. I'm the host of Association Chat, KiKi L'Italien, and for today's episode, what is belonging? What is this idea of belonging, and how do we know if we belong, and why does it matter anyway? Brene Brown wrote a lot of fantastic books, but Brene Brown wrote a book called Daring Greatly. And in this book, she says, belonging, on the other hand, doesn't require us to change who we are. It requires us to be who we are. And I think when we think about that, it's like, is that really the essence of belonging? And what does that mean for us as association executives? What does that mean for us when we're planning our events? And that's why I'm thrilled to introduce our guest for this episode, because there are a lot of questions about this topic for sure. And when I introduce these people, I hope you're as excited as I am. First, we have Naomi Clare Crellin. She is one of the warmest, most lovely people that you can ever meet. It seems appropriate when discussing today's topic. She's the CEO of Storycraft Lab. And then continuing on the warmth theme, we have Megan Henshall. I met her for the first time in Frankfurt, Germany. And of course, our first meeting included a hug. So Megan is the strategic lead for the global events division at Google. And with that, I am bringing them both up. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh my gosh, my pleasure. I'm so happy to be here.
So you're here. We are talking about this topic. Belonging it's such a big thing. And so I guess the very basic question everyone probably has is, what is this topic? What is the belonging index? How did this get started? Where did this idea begin? And so Naomi, Megan, I'm not sure who wants to answer that first, but I don't know. I'm looking for signals in the eyes. Naomi, do you feel particularly excited?
Well, this is a story actually that Megan and I have told a bunch of times. So I'm like, which, yeah. It actually kind of goes right back to when we started working together. Storycraft Lab had kind of jumped on this amazing opportunity to partner with Megan and a group of folks that she had brought together called XI from within Google. And we were actually kind of engaged to help with a different topic, was evolving techno-social norms, something a very kind of googly area of investigation. But as we were working together and doing a lot of kind of audience-based research, we kept hearing this term come up, belonging. And whenever people were talking about community, they talked about belonging. When they talked about engagement, they talked about belonging. When they talked about meaning or inclusion or participation, it was belonging. And it got to the point where Megan just said, we have to stop for a moment and actually go investigate this.
Yeah. Go ahead, Megan.
Yeah, just some context on XI for anybody tuning in who may not be familiar. It's short for the Google Experience Institute. And this community was brought together. This effort was initiated to really help us better understand in a post-pandemic world how we might leverage events, gathering experiences to support humanity, to add value to our organizations, to even drive revenue, like all of the things that we do, right, as experienced professionals. But Naomi's right, belonging kept coming up. And the more we study it and the more we learn and the more we experiment with it, the more it is undeniable. It's almost like a pointillism painting, right? Like every dot we lay on this canvas, every person we talk to, every time we take the wheel or the index somewhere new, this really beautiful picture is emerging that tells us belonging is critical for thriving and flourishing, not only for our organizations, but for people. Mm-hmm. It is a bridge between surviving and thriving. So I'm super excited to talk about it and just so grateful for Naomi's partnership and all this work.
Well, and I found out you all are working also with David Allison, our good friend David Allison with Value Graphics. And so when did David come into the mix for the belonging index? And I'm trying to think of this sort of evolution of the project and how things kind of came together.
Well, we'd reached a point through discussions and kind of the qualitative conversations and dialogue that we had been having through the XI work, where we were starting to discover and pull into a framework these different pathways or journeys to belonging. What did those journeys look like for different people? And we were connected with David, who his company Value Graphics is amazing. They have this incredible source of data. I mean, it's nearly like a million survey responses worldwide, and just in terms of the pursuit of inclusive dialogue and thinking about your audience in that way, it's just an incredible resource. He was just so kind, wasn't he, Megan? He wanted to get involved and bring the results that they get on the value graphics side of things to bear in the belonging conversation.
Yeah, I wondered about that because we've had him on Association Chat in the past, and in looking at sort of the nuances of what belonging means to different cultures and all of that type of thing, I thought, oh, that kind of makes sense how that would come in, and I can see how that would add to what you're doing. So we have the Wheel of Belonging. Talk to us a little bit about this Wheel of Belonging.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And I think we can talk about kind of then how it integrates with value graphics, because that's kind of like David is helping us get to the 2.0, I think, with the belonging index. And that was something that Megan and David really kind of cooked up. But before we kind of brought David in as really kind of third leg to our stool, we were looking, as I said, about all of those kind of qualitative conversations and dialogue around belonging. We were starting to understand that there were a series of journeys towards belonging, that it was almost like this sequential progression that an individual experiences over a number of touch points over a period of time. So for experienced designers, it kind of leans into the fact that you don't just flip a switch to get to belonging, but you have to be intentional and thoughtful about meeting an individual where they are, understanding their goals, their needs, their hopes, desires, dreams, and figuring out how we, through the choices that we offer, the experiences we design, can help move them forward towards that state of belonging, right? So that was where we'd started to then, as you'll see at the Wheel of Belonging.com, distill that into a framework that people can use to understand.
Yeah, I think so much of the work that Naomi and I have been partnering on, along with lots of other community members within XI, is frameworks, design templates, like usable, actionable things. Like a lot of the things that the research is pointing at feel very conceptual because they're not things that we've historically measured. They're not things that we've historically aspired to in a tangible way. Like we're excited when those are the outcomes, right? Like when we create belonging or we have a really positive emotional feedback loop with our attendees, but like now we're actually trying to hand people things that help them practically execute. So the wheel is themes and patterns and, repeat things again and again and again that we've heard from different people, because belonging is incredibly personal and it's like sort of an intimate situation, right? And so when we started on this journey, we were like, how could we possibly design for this, because it is so personal, but we're seeing the same touch points, the same moments, the same themes pop up again and again and again. And so now we have these really amazing paths, 8 of them, right? That are trends, they're patterns, they're things that we might be able to attach tactics to. And that's sort of, I think, next steps using David's belonging based sort of data pull to pair that with the wheel and then say, okay, if belonging for your audience looks like X, here are 3 to 5 things that you can do as a designer to make sure that you're making them feel seen and considered, and that belonging will exist within that experience. So I'm super excited.
I love it. I love it. Because automatically what I'm thinking is, okay, you have to walk me through one of the pathways. Please talk to me about one of these pathways and like give me some examples of some of the things like tactics that you use connected to them. So can you do that? Would one of you mind doing that for me?
Yeah, sure. No worries. So if I think it was, I put in, I went to the belonging index. There's a link here to the beta version of the index that everybody can test out. And what you do first of all is you enter in the geographical region that you're concerned with, right?
Okay.
So let's say that we're in Asia, and then you're going to put your industry vertical in there. I think I put in it was either finance or farming. It was an F. And what it gave me was these kind of GPS coordinates for what belonging means to that particular group by region and by industry vertical. And one of the first responses there gives you the 3 top definitions of belonging. One of the first ones is, I feel like my contributions are valued.
Okay.
Right. So what we've found on the wheel of belonging is that there is one particular pathway to belonging called love and appreciation. So you might encounter an individual at the start of their journey where welcoming them is something that begins their journey towards belonging. As a result of the way in which you welcome them into an experience, they feel accepted, that their presence there is a positive thing, that it has value, right? Then they're going to feel considered when they see the experience design that has been uniquely tailored to their needs and what it means to have them engaged. And ultimately, they're going to feel valued as a result of that pathway. So you kind of pull them through to a place where they feel loved and appreciated as a result of being accepted, considered, and valued. So what we would do is we would take that belonging result from the value graphics, that my contributions are valued, and we would place it on that love and appreciation pathway. And we would say, okay, KiKi, this is one of the top definitions of belonging for your audience in this region. Let's think about how we can build that love and appreciation pathway across all of the touch points of your experience design. So it gives you a way to kind of navigate the complexity, right? And find a lens to focus your work through.
I love it. So just a quick, I'm just going to roughly apply this really fast. So maybe an example would be if I take that pathway and thinking along those lines, and I'm thinking about an association group, and I am trying to help them feel like they belong and that they're loved and appreciated along the way. Maybe I found out their favorite treat or their favorite drink, and I have that waiting for them when they check into the hotel. That sort of thing. It's when they
a personal note, right?
Something that
human that says something simple like, "I am so glad that you are here." Right?
Yeah, specifically that person, that I care about them as an individual, and it's not some sort of, this is not the time to think, okay, I'm going to just cut and paste the same message to everyone. We're trying to make them feel like loved and appreciated individually. Yes.
Love and appreciation is one of my favorite pathways because I think it's one of the most universal. And in a way, this whole journey that we've been on is an ethnographic study around what belonging means to people and how we might not only more deeply understand it, but design against it. But I actually pulled up the wheel and I found a quote that I love, and it's from Erica Speed at Forbes. And this is something we hear again and again and again from people across all pathways, but this is something so deeply tied to love and appreciation. But she said belonging feels like a place where you feel accepted holistically and there's no necessity to code switch.
Ooh.
Your shame felt because you are different. You feel the freedom and safety to show up as your most authentic self. And I love this because we talk so much about belonging is on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It is a fundamental human motivation. It is critical to our success and our ability to flourish as a human. But we can never get to self-actualization or being our full authentic selves without belonging. We need other people to love and value and appreciate us in order for us to do that for ourselves. It's one of the most mainstream social science theories. So I think, this is something that I've become so passionate about, because who is more uniquely positioned other than event and experience professionals to help cultivate this in the world, right? We're bringing people together. It's such a huge opportunity.
So it is such an opportunity. I mean, this should be front of mind for not just event professionals, but especially anyone who works in associations, which is all about bringing people together, whether it's in person at an event or online at an event or through community, what have you. And so why do you think it's so hard? I mean, why do you think you're doing this because it needs to be done, because we still need work in this area? Why do you think it's so hard for event professionals, for association executives to sort of, I don't know, take the time to bring in these insights about belonging and to incorporate those?
Ooh, okay.
I have some strong opinions, but mine are
go ahead.
controversial. I think it's systems, it's organizational systems, it's hierarchies, it's these arbitrary constructs that we've been existing inside of for too long. And they tell us that we actually can't be open and transparent and authentic because we're only supposed to be this version of ourselves in any given environment, right? And that's code switching in and of itself. But I don't think it's us. I don't think it's actually hard for us. I think it's very intuitive for us. Naomi and I have seen it everywhere we've taken this work. People come in and you immediately see them like, they take a breath. People have cried. People have hugged strangers. Made friends in an instant, right? Just having these conversations, it comes natural to us as human beings to do this. It is the systems and the constructs and the rules and the norms that are the roadblocks here. So those are the things that we have to break down. But until we open this up and have these conversations more broadly, it's gonna be really hard to do that.
Yeah.
I think what I would add on to that, you mentioned it, KiKi, in your prompt there, time, right? Take the time to do this. I think that's change is difficult. It's tough. And what we all respond to as humans, as we've got all of these parameters and budgets tightening and timelines tightening, is, in times of stress, we revert to the muscle memory of known behaviors, right? So I think there's an element of self-awareness where we need to kind of step away from those systems, as Megan is talking about, that are driving certain kind of deep-seated reactions. Forgive ourselves for that and find ways that we can carve out the time. And I think that's really why Megan and I and the rest of the XI community are so passionate about helping people with tools and techniques that navigate that complexity. Because there are things, when we're talking about belonging, you can't simplify it. To simplify it is to disregard so many people that have their own unique and complex journeys. But what we can do is come up with tools that help us navigate that and simplify it within the processes and the systems that we have to work around. So, if we can come up with frameworks and steps that people can look to, and this is what we heard a lot at the collabs, right, Megan, was that folks need the first few steps. Like, how do I begin, right? If I'm going to carve out time within my intensely pressured life process and schedule, then I need to know, I can't go off spinning on my own journey of discovery. What are the first 3 steps that I can take to get me on my way, and once we're going, KiKi, we can imagine, like, what's that welcome moment, right? Okay, let me go find some people that can be greeters, and we can get there. But it's just kind of knowing that there's the safety of a system, right, to step into, especially when we're doing something new and different.
Well, I think that the idea, the concept of all of this is so strong, and I think the argument for it is so strong. I get the why. What are the challenges? What are the things that are because we know every project runs into challenges. So, are you running into challenges? Are there people who push back and say we don't need it? I mean, what are the things that you're running into that maybe you didn't expect, or maybe you expected them? I don't know.
I mean, so much of this work is counterintuitive to the way we operate, especially in like the corporate world. And so I think I've definitely experienced some like hackles raised and some friction, like, whoa, this feels like very woo-woo and emotional, and we're just trying to deliver business outcomes. But I'm not going to, but I could spit facts and data at you all day about why this matters to business, and why you will not get brand loyalty, and why you will not retain talent, and why you will not be successful as an organization without this. But that it is not terribly intuitive that things like belonging and emotional sentiment and self-actualization support strategic business value and outcomes. We have to connect those dots as people who are, neck deep in this work. And so I think that's a lot of what we've been doing as we socialize it. It's like, hey, if you need data and facts to support caring about this and justifying this to your stakeholders, we're here to help. We've heard a lot of people say they could really benefit from something like that. So I think as an incubator for the industry with XI, we really want to start to provide some of that more broadly, and help people tell this story and help them get their stakeholders to care about it. But yeah, there's definitely not everyone gets it right away.
Yeah.
And I think that could be, a big challenge as well. For all of the change makers in an industry, it can be tiring to repeat that again and again, some of the kind of fundamental reasons why over and over. So if we can kind of, through the incubator work, actually come up with that executive summary that everybody can roll out. If there's a question about belonging, here's why. Like the fact I keep going to is, if you can get to a state of belonging or a feeling of belonging, an individual is 167% more likely to recommend. Right?
Wow. 167% more likely to recommend.
I mean, it's kind of boom, just let that sit with the marketing department for a minute. And, that will, that'll really kind of talk to, I mean, it feeds directly into Net Promoter Scores and all of those other metrics that we probably could dedicate another talk about those. But, I think there is this fundamental set of reasons. So it's just about being able to articulate those clearly, with the energy to do it over and over again if needed.
I know we're having this conversation on a Friday afternoon. So talking about energy to go after these things it's a little bit challenging in and of itself. What are some of the goals that you have? I mean, how do you know that you've been successful with this? What do you want? What are the goals? What do you want to see happen with this project?
Synchronicity. I think in my mind, we're starting a movement with this work, and it's a movement not only to make our industry more successful, but it's also to use what we are great at, which is bringing people together to support humanity and create change within society, because a lot is broken right now. And it is, I think so much of it personally is because of this crisis of belonging.
Yeah.
So, I want to start a movement with this, and I want in 10 years for people to wonder why we aren't measuring the sense of belonging at our events and weighting how well we did against something like that. And I think back to your question, KiKi, about sort of headwinds and obstacles with this work, it's not something we can measure. And, if it if you can't measure it, it doesn't matter. So like that is where we're headed, is to be able to tactically execute and then measure how well we executed with something like belonging and, creating the right emotions, like all of these things that feel very ethereal right now.
Yeah.
We want to make them more pragmatic and real, because I think that speaks to the real power of what we do as proprietors of experience. Like that's the stuff that matters even more than traditional ROI.
Yeah. I think, the process that we're going through right now, it's like much of what we do at XI, the development process is a collaborative and open one. So as we're going through this exercise now, to actually step through and ideate those different kind of tactical recommendations using the belonging index and the wheel of belonging pathways as that prompt for ideation. That's something that anybody can get involved with. So you can email us at belonging@storycraftlab.com. And we're running a series of office hours for the XI community and anybody that is interested in joining this conversation over the course of the summer. They'll be on like Tuesdays and Thursdays, starting on the 29th of June. So those will be places where we're actually inviting people to come in with one of the belonging value attributes that they found through David's value graphics database that they want to kind of work forward. And we're going to use it almost like a little kind of focus group exercise to bring people into. So at the same time as that ultimately will generate, a more organized set of recommendations, the process can be one that will help partners start to zoom into those specific aspects of belonging that they want to deliver and develop in their associations at their events, right? Because I think then once they can start to identify like, okay, I want to really dig into networking. I really want to dig into what that registration experience is. I really want to dig into this particular piece with that lens of belonging. That will then allow the group to start tracking. I did this exercise. I rethought this thread. Here's the return that I saw. Right. And that's stuff that we're actually hoping through that really kind of collaborative approach, folks will start to contribute to the industry, to the community. And then we can start building out the argument, the business argument for belonging, the test, the result, right?
I love what you said earlier about talking about this idea of it being a movement. Okay. When I think about associations, I think about the massive potential of there being an association for everything, right? That's what we have. But it's this ability to bring the best and the brightest in every industry, in every field, in every science, and in everything you can imagine. And to think about what would happen if we reached out to those groups and were able to make massive transformation, to really mobilize, to really do amazing things through every industry. I mean, it's just incredible to think about the potential and this idea of why people are not more engaged and it being connected to belonging or a lack of feeling belonging for those associations. I know that there are association, leaders that are out there who have been just banging their heads against the wall, trying to crack the code to that, trying to figure out, what does engagement really mean? It's not necessarily clicks. It's not necessarily, it's not even how many people register for my annual meeting, but what is it? Right. And so, how do we move beyond that so that people truly feel like they belong? Before I let you go today, I know we're running up on time. Do you have an event that you've been to recently or an association you belong to where you've really felt like you belong? And if so, what was it?
Oh my goodness. Is it too kind of circular to say excited?
I mean, no, you can say this. The only rule is that you have to be honest. That's it.
Yeah. So I think the collabs have been that for me. XI Days was this incredible event where we brought our XI community together, global community together for the first time in a Google space in New York City. And it was wonderful. But I was sort of, because that was my event, I was like out of my body and not terribly present. But we've been running these collabs through XI in partnership with Naomi around the world. That's how we met at IMEX Kiki's. We were there running collabs, and those conversations, regardless of the broader environment and like where those are happening, have been such incredible moments of like meaning and connection for me. Because we've been talking so much about belonging, it just inherently organically exists in those spaces. And, you know, people come up and they say, like, this feels like a really safe space. Can I come back and hang out later? Or I didn't really know who my people were at this event. This is my first year attending, or whatever it might be. But like, I think I found my people. So like, I'm going to be back. People were coming back for every single collab at IMEX. Wow. Just like that in and of itself is proof that this resonates and that this matters. So I think the collabs.
So if people want to reach out, they want to get involved, I have belonging at storycraftlab.com. Yes.
Yes.
We have, what's the new project.com? What should they visit that too?
Yeah. So the new project is some work around radical inclusion that we've been doing specifically for neurodiversity and neurodivergent individuals. So people who are autistic, ADHD, OCD, dyslexia, dyspraxia, lots and lots of conditions, but we're talking about close to 25% of the global population. The new project is something we launched out of XI last year, specifically as a love letter to those communities at our events. Yeah, please check that out. We also have an external, this website here. If you want to learn more about XI, if you want to be added to our distribution list for content and products, like that's a great place to reach out to.
Okay, so xi-external at google.com. Megan, Naomi, thank you so much for joining me today. I know that you have to run off. You have very busy schedules, but I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me about belonging, to talk to Association Chat. And I just want you to know, you made me feel like I belonged in this conversation. I really appreciate feeling like I could be a part of it and talk with you both about it.
You belong here. Everyone.
Everybody belongs.
And I will be sending you an email, get you signed up for these focus groups, KiKi. You can help.
I love it.
Yeah.
Let me sign up. Send me that email.
I will. Right.
All right. Have a great time. Thank you. Can you believe it? What phenomenal people. I mean, I've got to tell you, I just absolutely love talking to Naomi, talking to Megan. They both are absolutely phenomenal. And, you know, I will share the details on how to reach them, how to get involved with the Belonging Index, the Wheel of Belonging, all of this stuff. I mean, the XI stuff that's going on. Can you believe that? I need to get more involved. So I hope that you learned something today, that you feel like you've learned a little bit more about belonging, a little bit more about why you should care about these things and how to apply them to your next events and to your associations. And with that, I hope you continue asking questions and searching around you every day, because as Joseph Campbell once said, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. Have a great rest of the week, everyone.